We're rolling into week 4. It's time to go to the moon and rank these running backs. We're ranking the top 30 running backs for week 4 to help you set your lineups. We got some funny matchups this week. We had some funny ones last week, and things are getting rather interesting as we get deeper into the season. But before we dig in with these running back rankings, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're still looking at the waiver wire every single day this week. We're doing deep dives on all the trending players. That way, if you're interested in a player, you know the story, the background, the information on that player, so you know whether or not to pick them up, make a move, buy, sell, hold, or trade. It's on you with your league, your format. And then on top of that, I'm helping you set your lineups. 1, with these ranking videos. 2, by looking at every single matchup throughout the week. Every single game this season will get touched. We're recapping the games as well. We're doing battle videos. It's all here. It's free. Click that button. Stop missing out. Our boy Ric Flair here is watching. He's the nature boy. Don't disappoint Ric Flair. But our first running back for week 4. Who's it going to be? Who's one of the top dogs coming down this week? And I got a new one. He's got the crown. It's Christian McCaffrey. I like the matchup against Jacksonville. I think there's going to be a good back and forth in this game. You got a 47.5 over-under. That's what I'm really looking at. Jacksonville has actually been all right against running backs. They're 33% below league average when it comes to allowing PPR fantasy points to running backs this year. That's right below me. Fantasy Pros has them at 1. It's very unlikely that I'm in lockstep with them with the first player usually this year, but this is the first time this year. But I like the over-under. I like the tight spread. I think there's going to be good movement in this game. I'm going Christian McCaffrey. Now at 2, Saquon Barkley. We have Tampa Bay. I think this game script's going to have some good fire to it. 43.5 over under. Vegas is a little bit lighter to that, but I can definitely see how there's good movement in this game. Both teams got firepower. They're both strong at wide receiver and running back, so they might hit the over in that one. But Vegas saying it could be a low-scoring game. Definitely could see how that could be with how nasty that Eagles defense can be. But Tampa Bay will allow fantasy points to running backs, allowing 21.3 points per game PPR. And Saquon's getting the touches. He's getting to work. He's due for a big performance after not hitting hard in week 3. I'm going with him at 2. Jonathan Taylor at 3. And honestly, he's on fire. And I'm not leaving a player that's on fire, even if I don't like the matchup so much. But the Colts have weapons. They can push the pace. Now you're looking at the Rams. You're looking at Davante Adams. You're looking at Puka Nacua. Now you're looking at what Vegas sees, a 50 over-under. I'm not scared of the matchup. I'm not scared that they're not allowing running backs to hit. He's getting the touches. He's getting the opportunities. I think there's going to be a good back and forth in this matchup. You're starting him anyway, so why be too scared to rank him high? I think there's good volume here where we could break and get some good points for you. And I think at minimum, you're looking at what we saw against the Dolphins, like 12 fantasy points, a good grind fest, getting you okay numbers, but not great for fantasy. I think the floor is rather high. At 4, Bijan Robinson, whatever you want to call him. We got Washington. They've been pretty stout this year, but they're at home. This is a bounce-back game, hopefully, for Penix, even with Penix sucking. 19 points, 16 points. Bijan Robinson's going to be safe. He's going to be okay. Washington has been solid against running backs in fantasy, allowing 13.1 PPR fantasy points per game. Bijan Robinson has been stellar. He has been getting 16 or more fantasy points in every single contest. Every game except for one. He has beat sleepers' projections. I think he's safe this week. James Cook in another high-scoring matchup per Vegas, 48.5 over-under. I'm rolling this. I'm keeping him up there. I had him ranked high last week. I'm going to keep him ranked high. He's been above 20 fantasy points every single week. Saints are giving up fantasy points to running backs. I think this is a smash play. I don't want to look too hard into it and try to conspiracy theory my way out of this. Kyren Williams, I like him this week. I'm way ahead of Fantasy Pros. They got him at 13. I got him at 6. Their ranking's right below mine. And we got a high over-under with this Rams-Colts game. So I'm going to lean into this game a lot. I think we can get a good volume in this matchup for the wide receivers and running backs. 19.5 points per game allowed the running backs, so right below league average, which is fine for me. But the volume in this game should push it. I look for him to score a touchdown here. I look for him to get it on the ground. We have not scored a touchdown on the ground. We got one last week in the receiving game, but not on the ground since week 1. We could definitely get that. I see volume in this matchup. If that happens, we're going to score all right. I think we're safe for like 10-ish points with upside for a lot more. 7, I got Josh Jacobs. On the road against the Cowboys. Micah Parsons' revenge game. The Cowboys are about to end it. They're about to end it. Let's just call it as it is. They're about to end it. The Cowboys are allowing 19.9 PPR fantasy points per game. He's projected to score 18.5. He's not really hitting projections, but we're due. And we're also, no matter the matchup, has been relatively safe for fantasy football against the Browns, 12.4. Last week, that's a nasty matchup. Imagine what he's going to do against the Cowboys when they're up, beating them. Now you're looking at Jahmyr Gibbs at 8. This matchup's nasty, but again, I'm not going to conspiracy theory my way out of him. I got him ranked 2 spots below Fantasy Pros. The over-under is still rather high. Like, I do not understand Vegas keeping these over-unders high with the Browns defense like that with bad quarterback play. So the one thing you can look at here for that to hit the over is just the quarterback play just being so dank that they road dogged the Browns. But that Browns defense is for real. It is for real. I don't expect good movement in this game. Like, it could hit the over, but I do not expect good movement in this game due to the Browns defense. And the Lions defense is pretty nasty as well. I expect bad quarterback play from the Browns. I'm expecting that every game unless I'm surprised. We didn't get good quarterback play from the Browns last week, even though they beat the Packers. That defense is going to keep them in it. I expect a nasty matchup. I'm still starting Jahmyr Gibbs. He could target his way into good fantasy production. He's always going to have that upside. But with me being a little bit lower than Fantasy Pros, I'm taking the matchup into consideration. At 9, Omarion, Hampton. We got the Giants on the road. Najee Harris is out. This is going to be his revenge game for Najee Harris. I look for this to be his coming out party. Technically, it was against the Broncos, but I look for this to be his true coming out party where he's the guy wire to wire. The Giants are allowing 26.3 PPR fantasy points to running backs. This is Jackson Dart's first game. I'm expecting him to go nuts. I'm expecting him to do well. I think he's an easy start. I'm ahead of Fantasy Pros. I got him at 9. They got him at 12. I got him as a top 10 running back. I'm being very aggressive here with Omarion Hampton. Jordan Mason at 10 against Pittsburgh on the road. Pittsburgh locked it up a little bit better, but still they gave up points to Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall earlier this season. Jordan Mason's getting a lot of volume. Snap share did not increase tremendously, but that was a blowout. 16 rushing attempts, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns. I look for him to get a lot of volume. I look for Carson Wentz to command the ship pretty good. I look for him to be all right. I look for him to be so good that you're like, man, maybe we should not bring back McCarthy. I look for him to command the ship and the Vikings to be okay. And I look for Jordan Mason to keep getting volume, keep getting opportunities. At 11, Devin Achane against the Jets. I think this is a very volatile game script. Vegas is saying that with the 44.5 over-under because it's like right down the middle. We're not at 39, we're not at 40, we're not 49 or 50. Right down the middle, and that's how I kind of see it, and that's how I interpret it. Because 1, that's the Dolphins, and 2, that's the Jets. Those are 2 very ambiguous teams. So you're getting Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde here. I expect him to be very safe considering he's got 19 targets in the last 2 games, and he's been rather steady when it comes to fantasy production. I'm not worried about him. I'm not even down on him. I had to rank some guys a little bit higher anyway, so that kind of pushed him down a little bit. So I feel good, but I also want to call out the matchup. At 12, Derrick Henry. So against Detroit and Cleveland, less than expected, but you got to understand those defenses. But you got the Chiefs defense. Now, they are allowing fantasy points to running backs, so there's a chance he could pop off a run. I'm a little bit lower than consensus. I brought some guys up that pushed him down a little bit, but this is a rough matchup. I got to account for that. I'm still starting him in my lineups. They do have a 48.5 over-under in this game. They're expecting good flow in this matchup. Hopefully that happens. And if we hit to a point total like that and we get good movement, which there should be good movement. Usually Ravens games have good movement to it. Derrick Henry's always going to have that potential to score like Derrick Henry. 13, I got Bucky Irving. We got Philly. I think we're going to get good movement in this game. like I said before with Saquon Barkley, the 43.5 over-under might be low. Like, I expect there to be some good movement. They are banged up at wide receiver a bit, but I don't think it's really going to matter to Baker Mayfield. He's a yellow quarterback. He'll just put it out there. Like, Mike Evans out isn't really going to cripple him that much. Bucky Irving's going to get a lot of work. Philly's a little less than league average when it comes to allowing fantasy points to running backs, 19.8 per game PPR. He's going to get work. He's going to get volume. He'll probably be safe to be around that 10, 11, 12 range in PPR scoring. We cross the goal line, which we're due a rushing touchdown with all these touches. Then that's going to be better than that projection. So that's what I'm seeing out of him. He's projected to score 19. He's hit projections once out of 3 games. So technically we're due to do it again. I think that's all dependent on whether or not we get that touchdown. At 14, Travis Etienne. I'm high on him again. And he's been safe or hitting big time. 18.6, I guess that's the big time for him. San Francisco on the road, we got a 47.5 over under. We're getting targets. We're getting opportunity. They got to use them. San Francisco hasn't been nice to running backs in fantasy scoring, but he's getting volume and workload. The game scripts have been weird with the Jaguars. Last week's game was a snooze fest. This game could also be like that because it was like that in the Cardinals-Niners game. It could be a slower paced game. That could impact the scoring. But also the fact that you look at the other running backs in the rankings and their matchups. Now you look at Travis Etienne and the touches, the snap rates, the opportunities. It's kind of hard to keep them down there, especially when you got a 47.5 over under. I would not be surprised, though, if this game hits the under, but I think there's going to be okay to moderate movement in this game when it comes to fantasy scoring. At 15, we're looking at Ashton, Jeanty. We got the Chicago Bears here. We saw what they did against Dallas. The Bears can push some game scripts here. He's going to be getting a lot of touches, a lot of work. They're not going away from him. 19 carries week 1, 11 week 2, 17 week 3. I look for this game script to get a little gritty. We do have a 47.5 over under, though, so I expect movement in this game. This could be his breakout game. This could be his breakout game. His breakout performance, Ashton Jeanty going off against the Chicago Bears. We got 1.5 spread here. It's tight. This could be it for him. Usually it takes a few weeks for rookie running backs to go blast off that are drafted early, so you got to give them time to ramp up. It took Jahmyr Gibbs like 6 weeks. It took Devin Etienne a couple weeks. He blew up in week 3. So you got to give these guys some time. When you're looking at the game script here, I can definitely see some good back and forth. At 16, Alvin Kamara. We got the Buffalo Bills. I'm high. Fantasy Pros has them at 24. And Buffalo Bills are allowing fantasy points to running backs. 22 points per game. He's getting work in the passing game. And there's a 48.5 over under. I expect good movement in this matchup. It's all dependent on Spencer Rattler. I say this every game with the Saints, but like it's common sense. Like you're either getting this golden version of him where he looks like the next Patrick Mahomes, or you're getting the demon. The demon. We saw this at Oklahoma. We saw this at South Carolina. We saw this last year. Like, there's no in between. That's the thing about him. And he goes YOLO with it, pushing it downfield. He doesn't care. He's aggressive. For a quarterback that's not like top 10 in the league, that's really what you want in fantasy football. A guy that's got a lot of volume to him, does not care, puts his nuts on the table. I think Alvin Kamara is in a good matchup here with a lot of movement. And I do not understand why the rankings are scared of him, because I think he's got good potential. His downside is Spencer Rattler. That's almost every matchup. 17 is Kenneth Walker. I got him at 17. They got him at 14. This Arizona matchup should be all right for him, but also Charbonnet's back to practicing. It could be more of a split workload. I'm taking that into consideration, and we are allowing 24.4 PPR fantasy points per game to running backs. The Cardinals are. He's projected to score 13.7. Sleeper has noticed that. He's sharing the backfield this week a little bit more, but there's a lot of upside with him due to how explosive he is. I want to see this through. 2.38 yards per carry last week, so we lived on the touchdowns, but we crossed the goal line twice. That helped him out. I think this is going to be a good matchup for him. Also have some guys pumped up a little bit higher that they were low on, so that kind of pushed him down a little bit. So I'm really, right where they're at when it comes to value. At 18, Breece Hall. I'm a little bit low on him, mainly because how ambiguous this matchup is. He could go off in this game. The Dolphins are the Dolphins. You do not know what you're going to get when you open up that can of Dolphin. But 23.3 PPR points per game to running backs. He got 9 carries last week, 10 the week prior. Went off against the Steelers. He's got speed. He's getting work in the passing game. This is all dependent on game script, quarterback play. This could be an ugly game where nothing happens and we're just poking this game with a stick. 44.5 over under. But this is also a game that could just break open and gash like a wound that won't stop bleeding. That is what I'm looking at. And I know you want the analysis of saying, hey, black and white, good, bad, right, left, whatever. But that's the analysis you need, because that's what I see here. And that's true honesty, that you're going to see a matchup here that could go either way due to these teams being roughly ambiguous. He's got some things in his game where he could go off this week. At 19, J.K. Dobbins. I'm a little bit higher on him, and I think I need to be higher than this. I think this is a good matchup for him. R.J. Harvey should be in high consideration this week. It's against the Bengals. That defense is probably going to come out to play against that bad quarterback play. I look for J.K. Dobbins to get touches and opportunities. He's been steady. He's been beating projections. He's been getting double-digit opportunities every single week. It's against the Bengals. They've been giving up fantasy points to running backs. I think this is an easy one. I think I'm actually low. I want him a little bit higher. At 20, Trey Benson. I'm high on Trey Benson. I think there's some upside for this game. He's got 4.3 speed. This is a revenge game for James Conner. He has pretty much stated that. Like, this is his Apollo Creed moment, and he's Rocky Balboa, and he's about to kill that Russian, and he's in Seattle right now. And Seattle's allowing 23.1 PPR points per game, 4.3 speed in the open field. I think we're going to see good workload. I know we're going to see good workload. We're going to get it in space. I'm not afraid to start him this week. If you're wondering whether or not to pick him up off waivers or if your waiver wire move was correct, with him being ranked in the top 20 this easily for me, with potential to score more than that, is an indicator that you made the right move. At 21, DeAndre Swift. The matchup against the Raiders, 47.5 over under. We're getting work in the passing game. 4 targets last week, 3 in week 2, 5 in week 1. I think that could buoy his fantasy production in a game script that should have good movement. Vegas is saying that, and I can definitely see how that's going to work out. Caleb Williams is a very aggressive quarterback. That should push the pace in this game. They're not allowing a lot of fantasy points per game to running backs. They're just a little bit below league average at 13.6%. But still, with his work in the passing game, with them having to be creative due to that, he's going to get work. He's going to get targets. At 22, Quinshon Judkins. I'm high on Judkins. He's good. He's just stout. He's solid. They're going to have to use him to have a chance. He could cross the goal line. His first ever game, 6.1 yards per carry. Second ever game, 5.2 yards per carry against 2 tough defenses. We got another tough defense here. They got a tough defense. They're going to try and control the clock. He's also getting work in the passing game. I'm going to chase the volume, and I'm going to chase the talent here. He could outproduce this pretty easily. At 23, Chuba Hubbard. And what I see here is a running back getting a lot of work, getting a lot of opportunity on a very random team and very random game scripts. I'm starting him as an RB2 flex. He's getting work in the passing game. He's getting work in garbage time. The Patriots are allowing good fantasy points to running backs at 22.4 points per game, 7.3% ahead of league average, which is solid. I think there's good opportunity here, no matter what the game script looks like for Chuba. 24 is Chase Brown. I've always been down on him. I've been down on him every single week, even week 1. Like, we called out the Browns defense doing this. Like, we've called this out. And why would I be ahead of him now? I'm below Fantasy Pros again. Like, he just keeps getting lower and lower. I think week 1 I had him like close to 20. And he scored that way. Against Denver, something similar. He needs to cross the goal line for him to give you anything. He's not going to go carry after carry, getting yards after yards. He's got to cross the goal line. He's good for 3 to 5 targets, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less in this matchup. We got to cross the goal line or somehow get a big play. It's kind of hard to do that against a tough defense with this bad quarterback play. 25 is Javonte Williams. Tough matchup. Micah Parsons' revenge game. I could definitely see him getting cut off here a little bit, but I could definitely see him being roughly safe for around 10-ish fantasy points. So if you do got to start him, a lot of people went here RB. They drafted like a Bijan or Saquon or something. Waited down the draft, got Javonte. They're rolling with him. They're sitting pretty. If you got to do that, I wouldn't worry too much because you're jacked up at wide receiver and everywhere else. There's just going to be a few games where this happens. This is a rough matchup. He still might get you 10, 11, or 12, though. At 26, Tony Pollard. Going to be very up and down this year. You got a rookie quarterback. You got a decent matchup here against Houston. They're allowing 23.6 PPR fantasy points per game to running backs. Your over-unders at 39.5. Vegas saying no movement. Hardly any in this matchup. Definitely could see how it's ugly. We do need him to cross the goal line in this game to give you good fantasy production. That's really what we've been seeing all along this whole season. I don't see this changing with this matchup. At 27, David Montgomery. It's just with a 45.5 over-under, with them having to be creative against the Browns. If that quarterback play gets worse, they got to bring in Gabriel. They could be up. He could be getting red zone looks. If he crosses the goal line once or twice, we have 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. He could get you a 10, 11, 12 spot for you in fantasy. At 28, Cam Scatterbo. Volume. And he's getting work in the passing game. 8 targets last week. 3 targets the week prior against Dallas. That was his coming out party. He's getting work. It's not a great matchup for him, but he's also ranked at 28. And we're just chasing the volume here. He's also hit double digits in each of the last 2 weeks and beat projections. He's projected at 16. I don't see him beating that. I see him around 10, 11, 12 range and getting there due to the volume. We got to cross the goal line this week to hit upside. At 29, Jaylen Warren. I feel like I'm a little low. He's actually fairly safe. I just don't like this matchup against the Vikings. I think they can really slow down this pace, make this game a little gritty. I said that against the Jets, though, and that game script went off, so he could go either way. But when I really think about this, historically, this year and last year, they've been rough, the running backs. I like the volume, but I do feel like he's safe. Like that floor is going to be 9, 10, 11, 12. He's very safe. I do not see him busting. I think it's going to be hard for him to hit upside. At 30, Trevion Henderson is against Carolina. We had fumbleitis with Gibby and Steve-O. Hendo better go off in this matchup or we're going to start to get worried. Carolina is allowing 21.9 PPR fantasy points to running backs. Better than last year for sure. For sure better than last year. Carolina is getting a little bit better. But when you're looking at Hendo, we got to have that coming out party somewhere down the line. 11 carries, even though it's 2.55 yards per carry, that volume increased. And if we get good volume and the right opportunity on the right series, it could be blast off for him. We're still getting targets in every single game. 6 targets week 1. We know where their head's at going into the season. Now we got a matchup here. 43.5 over under against Carolina at home. This could be the game he blows up and smashes. It could be. Let me know who you're starting, what you're doing, who you're picking up in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.